If he had returned home just 5 minutes earlier that night, he might still be living a normal life. But on that dark night of the storm, in the middle of the deserted street, he looked back just once. And in that one moment, something that wasn't human returned home with him. Within hours, he looked at his family and began to speak in a voice that was not his own. And then everyone realized someone had not yet left him, and that someone was a girl who had died 3 years ago. I was not very old at that time. We lived in a quiet village in Murshidabad in a joint family. My father, mother, Jethu, Jithaima, grandmother, and my younger uncle all lived together in the same house. The most lively person in our family was my uncle, Jatin. Everyone in the village, young and old, knew him. Since he was cheerful, polite, and very good at studies, he used to give tuition in several nearby villages. He had a fixed routine from morning till night. That day, too, the beginning of the day was normal like any other day. He taught in the morning and took a little rest in the afternoon. In the afternoon, he went to teach another batch. At night, the last batch was at the house of a student in a neighboring village. The appearance of the sky had started to change since evening. The entire sky was covered with black clouds. The hot air suddenly became cold. Lightning flashes could be seen in the distance. Grandma kept telling Uncle, "Don't go out today. The weather doesn't look good." But Uncle smiled and said, "This is the road. It won't even take 10 minutes on a bicycle. Can I skip class for this much rain?" Saying that, he took his bicycle and left. After a while, he called to say that he had arrived safely. Everyone felt a little relieved. But surprisingly, the worry on Grandma's face still hadn't diminished a bit. She was just staring at the darkness outside the door, as if she could sense some invisible danger. At around 9:30 at night, the sky suddenly burst and rain fell. Such rain that it seemed like the whole world would drown in a few minutes. Along with it, cold wind, thunder, and a strange silence. We all started waiting. 10 o'clock struck. 10:30 struck. 11 o'clock struck. But there was no sign of Uncle. At first, they thought that he might be standing somewhere because of the rain. Then they started calling one after another. But every time the same answer, "The number you are trying to call is switched off." The color of the father's face changed. Jethu also couldn't sit still any longer. The two of them went out with torches. They took a few more people from the village with them. First, they went to the house of their uncle's student. When they got there, they found out that their uncle had left long ago. Because the sky was getting dark, this meant he got lost somewhere in the middle. Then an old man in the village said slowly, if he was in a hurry, then he might have taken the shortcut. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other's faces. Because even today, the people of the village close their doors after dusk when they hear the name of that road. On both sides of the road are huge banyan trees, bamboo bushes, and dense jungle. Even in daylight, the place is uncomfortable. And at night, no one goes there alone. Many people say that sometimes you see someone there who is not really human. The fathers moved forward anyway. The torchlight was flickering. Nothing could be heard except the sound of wet leaves in the wind. Suddenly, the torchlight fell in the middle of the road, the body of a man covered in white cloth. Everyone stopped. For a few seconds, no one dared to move forward. Father slowly moved forward. Just then, the man covered in white cloth slowly sat up. And then, he removed the cloth from his face, the face that appeared in front of him. It was my uncle's face. For a few moments, no one seemed to be able to move. All around were the chirping of crickets, and the distant sound of thunder. The torchlight fell directly on Uncle's face, but there was no expression on that face that was normal to a human being. The lips had turned white, the eyes were unusually large, and the entire face seemed bloodless. Father said in a trembling voice, "Jatan, why are you sitting here? Come on, let's go home. Everyone is waiting for you." Uncle didn't answer. He just looked at Uncle with a fixed gaze once. Then he slowly lowered his head. After a few seconds, a voice was heard that made everyone present's chest tremble. It wasn't Uncle's voice. It was a heavy, hoarse, unfamiliar voice. "Let's go." Everyone looked at each other. Uncle said again, "Leave now, or you too will suffer the same fate." His lips were moving as he said this, but the words seemed to come from the darkness around him. Jethu bravely stepped forward. He didn't really believe in these superstitions. He put his hand on Uncle's shoulder and said, "It's been a long time. Stop the drama. Go home." But the next moment something happened that he could never forget in his life. Uncle slowly raised his head. His eyes turned completely white. Then, without any effort, he suddenly moved Jethu's hand away, as if a grown man were breaking a dry branch. Jethu fell a few steps away. Immediately, Uncle started laughing in a way that was not a human laugh. Tears were mixed with laughter. Again, anger was mixed with tears. It seemed like many people were laughing at once. A few villagers started to back away in fear. No one spoke. As soon as Baba dared to move forward again, Kaka suddenly held his head in both hands and shouted, "He won't let me go. He has come. He is here." But who is he? No one knew the answer to this question at that time. Jethu slapped Kaka hard on the cheek as a last resort. In an instant, Kaka's entire body went limp. He fell unconscious on the ground. Everyone somehow brought him home. Grandma realized standing at the door. The boy who had gone out was no longer the same person he had been. She immediately brought Ganga water and sprinkled it on Kaka's face. After a few minutes, Kaka regained consciousness, but he didn't recognize anyone. He didn't answer anyone's questions. He just slowly went to his room, closed the door, and lay down. When his mother brought him food, he just said, "No one will call me. I'm so tired." Then he fell silent again. That night, no one in the house could sleep properly. It was almost 2 in the morning. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the sound of crying. At first, it seemed like a woman was crying outside, but after a few seconds, everyone understood. The sound was coming from his uncle's room. Grandma called Jethu in fear. Dad also ran over. Everyone stood in front of the door. The sound of crying inside had stopped. Dad was about to reach for the door. Just then, knock, knock. The door slowly started to open on its own. The air inside suddenly became as cold as ice. Uncle is sitting on the bed, head down, hair hanging over his face. Father said slowly, "Jatan." No answer. He called once more. Just then, Uncle slowly raised his head. Then, 2 voices spoke at once. One a man's, another a woman's. "Who is your brother?" "I, Nurzela." The whole room fell silent as soon as they heard the name, because almost everyone in the family was hearing this name for the first time. But Grandma's face changed in an instant. It was as if she had heard this name somewhere before, and even then, no one understood. An unfinished love story that happened 3 years ago. Today, it has returned with terrible revenge. The grandmother stood silently for a while. Then she slowly sat down. A look of fear was evident on her face. She said in a trembling voice, "Norjela, I have heard that name before." Everyone in the house looked at her together. She began to say that about 3 years ago, Jatan used to teach an 11th grade girl from a neighboring village. The girl's name was Norjela. She was very quiet, polite, and intelligent. But gradually, the girl fell in love with her teacher. One day, she dared to express her feelings. Jatin did not insult her. He did not get angry either. He only said, "You are still young. You have your whole life ahead of you. Focus on your studies. One day you will understand that what I am saying today is for your own good." But love does not always listen to reason. Nurjela could not accept the pain of rejection. A few months later, the news came. She had taken poison and ended her life. Silence descended in the house. Everyone understood that this incident was connected to Kaka's past. The next morning, Jethu went out in search of a tantric, but he found out that he had gone out for a sadhana. It would take 2 more days to return. Those 2 days seemed to never end. Jatin's behavior became more terrifying with each passing hour. He would not talk to anyone. Suddenly, he would laugh to himself. Sometimes, he would look at the empty room and talk to someone. In the middle of the night, a woman's voice would be heard crying from his room. Everyone in the house was counting the days in fear. The second night, Grandma had deliberately slept next to Kaka. It was almost 2 in the morning. Suddenly, he woke up and saw the bed was empty. Jatin was not there. As soon as he sat up, something like cold water fell on his face from above his head. Naturally, he looked up. Then, the scene he saw, no one will ever forget it. Jatin was stuck upside down to the ceiling like a lizard. He was slowly crawling, holding onto the ceiling with both hands and both feet. His head was hanging down, his hair was covering his face, and even in that darkness, you could see he was smiling. The whole house woke up to Grandma's scream. Everyone came running. Before anyone could understand, Jatin jumped straight from the ceiling, but not to the ground. He went and sat on Jethu's shoulder. Within a moment, Jethu knelt down. He started shouting, "Get him down! My neck is breaking!" Even though 4 or 5 people pulled him together, Jatin could not move an inch. It seemed that his body weighed several hundred kilograms. Just then, Mother brought Ganga water and puja flowers from Thakurgarh. As soon as a few drops of Ganga water fell on Jatin, he screamed loudly and fell to the ground. From then on, a high fever began. Difficulty breathing, eyes closed, body cold as ice. 2 days passed. The doctor came. Medicine was given. But there was no change. On the morning of the 3rd day, a 70-year-old man stood at the door of the house. White dhoti, ragged cloth on his shoulders, a small bundle in his hand. Without saying a word, he said directly, "Where is the one you called me for?" As soon as he entered the house, Jatin suddenly opened his eyes and looked. Then the previous double voice was heard again. "Why have you come? Let's go. I'll take her." The tantric said in a calm voice, "What you call love is not love. It's addiction." Without answering, he took holy ash from the urn and sprinkled it on Jatin. The air in the room changed in an instant. Jatin started to shiver violently. At one point, the woman's voice started crying. "I can't live without her. She's only mine." The tantric said, "You're dead, but she's still alive. The dead have no right to the fate of the living." Nurjela said, crying, "I was waiting for her that stormy night. I asked for help in the form of a helpless girl. She trusted me. At that very moment, I entered her body." Everyone in the room held their breath and listened. The tantric now threw a handful of dried chilies into the fire pit. The smoke spread throughout the house. Jatin started screaming in unbearable pain. "Let me go. I will leave," the tantric said sternly. "Prove that you are really leaving." A few seconds of silence. Then, a loud noise outside the house. Whack! Everyone ran out. They saw that a thick branch of the huge mango tree next to the yard had broken off on its own and fallen to the ground. At the same moment, all the crying, all the screaming, all the sounds stopped completely from inside the house. Jatin took a deep breath and slowly opened his eyes. Looking around in surprise, he said, "Why are you all here?" He didn't remember anything. In the next 10 days, he completely recovered. But that shortcut road, even today, the people of the village avoid it at night, because many people believe, on stormy nights, a girl's voice still rings out. "Please step forward. I'm too scared to go alone." Have you ever met a person who, at first glance, tells you things about you that no one else in the world knows? If that person then told you that someone is watching your family with an invisible force, would you believe it? The family in this story didn't believe it at first, but within a few days, one of the people in the house changed completely. He no longer had any identity in his eyes. And then they understood. The most dangerous enemy is not always a ghost. Sometimes it is a living person who uses dark forces for his own benefit. At that time, Jethu's relationship with our family was almost over. Misunderstandings, pride, and time, all of it. There was no communication between the two families for several years. Even though we were in the same city, we seemed to have become strangers to each other. But time changes everything. I got married in December 2025. That marriage reconnected the long broken relationship. Slowly, everyone started sitting together. Old stories, laughter, memories. Everything seemed to come back. One evening, we were all sitting at Jethu's house talking. In between conversations, the topic of ghost stories suddenly came up. Everyone started telling their own strange experiences in life. Just then, my brother suddenly fell silent. His face changed color. After a while, he said in a very low voice, "An incident once happened in our house too." I asked with interest, "What incident?" He stared at me for a few seconds. Then he shook his head and said, "I can't tell you, because the incident happened to my mother. She still breaks down when she thinks about it." I didn't insist anymore, but my curiosity wouldn't go away. A few days later, everyone gathered again. I took the opportunity to sit next to my sister. I said, "You can't avoid it today. You have to hear the whole incident." Didi was silent for a while. Then she took a deep breath and said, "Then listen." Even today, when I remember the incidents, my body goes cold. Then she went back to the incident 3 years ago. At that time, she was teaching tuition at a house in addition to studying in college. A little boy, a decent family. For the first few weeks, everything was completely normal. But then, Didi noticed that the head of the house was a strange man. He never got angry. He never spoke loudly. But his eyes were not normal. At first, Didi didn't pay much attention to it, because the man looked like a normal person from the outside. He wore a white Punjabi. He had a few amulets around his neck. He had a Rudraksha mala in his hand. No one would have guessed he was a tantric. One day, after the lesson, the man suddenly said, "I will visit your house one day." Didi couldn't say no out of politeness. After a few days, the man really came to our house. At first, everything was normal, drinking tea, talking, laughing. But after a while, the man's behavior suddenly changed. He knelt down on the bed. Then he closed his eyes and started muttering very slowly. At first, it seemed like he was reciting a prayer. But after a few seconds, his voice changed. The language was incomprehensible. But just hearing those words made her body feel uncomfortable. The air in the room seemed to become heavy. Didi didn't call out even when she tried to call out. The man returned to normal after a few minutes, as if nothing had happened. As he left the house, he only looked back once and smiled strangely. From that day on, everything started to change. A few days later, Dee Dee went to teach again. After the teaching was over, the man suddenly asked her, "How is your mother?" Dee Dee was surprised and said, "She's fine." The man slowly shook his head. Then he said, "No, I don't see anything good. Your mother won't live long. If she dies, she'll come back as a witch." Dee Dee's chest tightened. She thought the man might be joking, but there was no smile on the man's face. He came closer and whispered, "A jinn has been sent to your house. You will understand very soon." Then he took out a piece of paper from his pocket and wrote down his phone number. "When you understand that I was right, then call me." Dee Dee had dismissed the matter that day as superstition. But in just a few days, her own mother changed in such a way that the whole family started living in fear. The person who used to laugh with everyone before suddenly sat quietly all day. He would not answer when anyone spoke. He would just look at Dee Dee and smile strangely. And in that smile, there was no mother's affection. There was someone else's presence. The scariest thing was, when Dee Dee would go to her room alone to change clothes, her mother would silently enter the room and stand there. She would stare at her. There was no illusion in that gaze. There was such an unusual attraction that Dee Dee herself felt as if this wasn't her mother. Someone else was using her mother's body. Dee Dee tried to convince herself at first. Maybe it was all a coincidence. Maybe her mother was unwell, stressed, or had some other problem. But as the days went by, it became clearer that this was not normal. Her mother seemed to be slowly losing her normal self. Previously, she would never take her younger brother out of her sight for a moment, but now she could not stand him. Whenever the boy came near, her eyes would turn red with anger. After a while, she would smile as if nothing had happened. But the most uncomfortable thing was that look at Dee Dee. It was not the way a mother looks at her daughter. There was a strange longing in that look, a feeling that is difficult to express in words. Dee Dee would ask again and again, "Mom, why are you looking at me like that?" She would just smile and say, "I see you." How cold it would get inside Dee Dee's heart just by hearing these 3 words. Because that voice, even though it was her mother's, it was as if there was someone else inside her. Then came that night, the night that still makes the whole family tremble when I remember it. It was almost 1 in the morning. Everyone was asleep. Suddenly, a loud scream shook the whole house. Dee Dee ran into her mother's room and froze. Her mother was sitting on the bed. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were unusually large. She was holding her head in both hands and screaming as if she was in unbearable pain. Jethu tried to hold her and calm her down, but it was impossible. No one could believe that a normal human body could have so much strength. Even after 4 people held her, she was still letting go of his hands. Suddenly, she stared at a corner of the room with one glance. Then he said in a trembling voice, "He's here. He's standing there." Everyone in the room looked in that direction. At first, nothing was visible, but after a few seconds, Dee Dee's younger brother raised his finger tremblingly and said, "He's really?" A long black shadow was slowly emerging from the dark corner of the room. No face, no eyes, just a human-like figure. It seemed that the darkness itself had taken the shape of a human. The shadow was slowly walking inside the room, but surprisingly, there was no sound of its footsteps. It seemed that it wasn't walking on the floor, it was floating. Dee Dee closed her eyes in fear, but when she looked again, the shadow was gone. Where it had been a second ago, the place was now empty. Just then, another voice came out of her mother's mouth. "Call him. Call him. He knows." Dee Dee suddenly remembered the words of that tantric, the one who had said a few days ago, When you understand that I was right, then call me." She took out the phone with trembling hands. She dialed the number. The man picked up the phone after it rang twice, but surprisingly, before Dee Dee could say anything, the man said, "Keep the door open. Put the phone on loudspeaker. No one will speak." Dee Dee did exactly that. Then, from the other end of the phone, the man began to chant a mantra in a language that no one in the house had ever heard before. As the words progressed, the air in the house became heavier. Dee Dee's mother suddenly covered her ears with both hands. Then she started screaming in great pain. It seemed she couldn't bear the words. The chanting went on for about 10 minutes. Suddenly, everything was quiet. No screaming, no crying. The air in the room seemed to become lighter. That night, around 3 in the morning, the tantric himself arrived. As soon as he entered the room, he looked around. Then he said in a low voice, "I told you before, a genie has been sent to your house. This is not an ordinary matter." The next morning he said, "He has to be brought to my house." The family had no other choice. They agreed. But no one understood yet. Has this man really come to help? Or his own name is hidden behind this whole terrible incident? The next morning, everyone in the house had one question on their minds. Did the man really want to help them? Or was he himself part of this darkness? Still, there was no other way. Everyone, including Jithi, reached the tantric's house. But surprisingly, as soon as they reached the gate of the house, Jithi stopped. Then suddenly he started backing away. There was panic on his face. His eyes widened. He kept saying, "I won't go inside. He's calling me. He's inside." Everyone in the family was surprised because he hadn't heard anyone for the past few days. But today, he could clearly sense what was inside the house. The tantric came out. He stared at Jithi for a while. Then he started reciting the mantra in that strange language again. Within a few minutes, Jithi became completely calm. He lowered his head and slowly entered the house. That day, various rituals and ceremonies were going on for a long time. Finally, the tantric said, "Someone has sent a jinn to your house. You will have to do a lot of sadhana to get rid of it. It will take at least 25,000 taka." Hearing this, Dee Dee's first suspicion arose, because until now, the man had been talking with such confidence. Suddenly, asking for money at the end of everything seemed unusual to her. After returning home, Dee Dee narrated the entire incident to one of her relatives. He heard everything and said, "Come with me tomorrow without telling anyone." The next day, they went to an old sage outside the city. After listening to everything carefully, the old tantric remained silent for a long time. Then he slowly said, "The man you are going to, he's not protecting you. He himself was the main cause of this incident." Everyone in the house was stunned. Dee Dee couldn't believe it. The old man said again, "That day when he was kneeling on the bed in your house and muttering, that day he acted on your house. He made your mother his target, and he wanted to bring you under his control by scaring you." Dee Dee's body went cold. Suddenly, every incident of the past few weeks started to match each other. How did the man know everything in advance? Why was he repeatedly telling her to rely on herself? Why was he always the only solution after fear? The answer to everything seemed to become clear in an instant. The old tantric said, "The power with which people can be helped. The same power can also be used to destroy people. Everything depends. Who has that power?" That very day he started the remedy. He recited a special mantra. He gave him holy water. He asked him to bury iron nails in the 4 corners of the house. He said, "From today onwards, all relations with that man are over. Don't answer his phone. Don't go to his house. If he sends anything, Never bring it home. Dee Dee's family did exactly that. Within a few days, surprisingly, Jethy became normal again. The strange vision in his eyes disappeared. The screams at night stopped. The unusually heavy atmosphere in the house also gradually disappeared. Everyone thought the nightmare was over. But the real fear still remained. About 6 months later, on the day of Lakshmi Puja, suddenly Dee Dee got a call on her phone. The wife of the tantric was on the other end. He said in a tearful voice, "I have come to your house. I have brought a box of sweets." Dee Dee's chest heaved. For no reason, she felt. This box cannot be brought into the house. She immediately called home and said, "Whatever. Don't bring that box into the house." Jethy went outside the house and took the box. He opened it and saw it was really sweet inside. Everything was completely normal. Still, as Dee Dee had said, the box was thrown far away from the house. A few months passed. Then the news came. The tantric had died. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But after a few days, his wife called again. There was such a panic in his voice that was not to be acted out. He said, "He didn't die," Dee Dee said in surprise. "You mean?" The woman slowly said, They took him. The ones he had been working with for so long. In the end, they took him." Then he said something else. Dee Dee's body started shaking upon hearing that. He told her their entire family had been involved in evil practices for many years. Secret practices would be held inside the house at midnight. Strange rituals would be performed. Even family members would use that power against each other. After the phone call ended, Dee Dee couldn't say anything for a long time. Only one question was on her mind. Do people really control evil forces? Or did that evil force once take control of people? Even today, no one knows the answer to that question. But Dee Dee still believes in one thing. Not all terrible things hide in cemeteries, crematoriums, or dark forests. Sometimes, they wear human masks. They knock on your door themselves.